Chapter 91. You are listening at Novel Full. Audio. 91. Eating pizza. In another world, I walked back home to have breakfast with mom and dad, while also talking about the training I had today. After all, I swung my blade 1200 times, so that was pretty amazing. Now, time to head back and relax. Oi. You're ignoring me on purpose, aren't you? Ignatius asked. God, you're so annoying, Ignatius. Can't you just let me be for a couple of seconds? I sighed as I replied. Ack. You fought against me for so long, asking me to become your companion, and you're now being annoyed by my presence. Oh, you know how much of my pride it takes to serve a little girl like you, he cried in response. Surprisingly, I could see his eyes crying a river inside the egg. Sigh. Fine. I'm sorry. What do you need? I said, sighing once more. I'm just worried. You're working way too hard, Sylph. You're still just a little girl. You should rest some more, he told me, which was quite surprising. You saw what I had to fight the other day, right? I realize that I'm weak, way too weak for my own good. I can't stand a day without training, even if a little bit. I just want to grow stronger so whenever I'm caught up in something like that again, I'll have the strength to properly fight back. It might take years for me to grow like my parents, but the sooner I start, the better, I told him, reminding him of the fight the two of us had gone through. You're an awfully hard worker for a little kid, said Ignatius with a light sigh. But of course. I've almost died many times, you know. Do you think I can actually slack off, idiot? I replied. Ah. Well, I guess it has been quite traumatic for you, he replied after that. Not really. I'm fine mentally. I just want to grow stronger, that's all. I have a simple mind, I clarified. How come your mind is completely sane? For some reason, you act like an adult even though you're just 4 years old. Ignatius wondered. Of course, I can't just tell him I am actually a reincarnated person or something like that. That would be idiotic. I have to hide this truth to not creep out my parents. Imagine if they found out they had been nursing and raising a full-grown adult all this time. It would surely give them the creeps. I'm just well developed, that's all. My mother's milk was very nutritious, while my brain is big. Or that's what father always tell me, I said in response. I see. I had completely forgotten that you lowly beings drink milk and grow very fast. We dragons have a period of infancy for many years before we fully mature. I had only begun acting more responsibly when I was around 200 years of age, Ignatius told me in response to my words. Remembering how you came here and got slaughtered by my father like nothing, I can't really tell if you were really mature that time. You acted like a child, to be honest, I could not help but tell him. What, you dare call me a child, he said with a hint of anger. Yeah. Well, you're an egg now, I replied. Fu. Naturia laughed at this rather cutely. That this is. I used to be a big and strong dragon once. You'll see. Once I hatch from here, I'll become big and strong. I won't listen to your words again. Ever, he cried. Okay, calm down for once. You're a very temperamental lizard. I lightly sighed. At the moment I entered home, I was greeted by my parents, who were already preparing things for breakfast. A lot of stuff was on the table, surprisingly. The reason why there was a lot of stuff was because mother was making something called pizza today, which was basically dough covered in cheese, tomato sauce, tomato slices, spices, and salami. The smell of the pizza being cooked filled my nostrils as my belly roared in hunger. Roar. Was that your stomach, Sylphie? Asked my father in disbelief. It sounded like a monstrous bear that I had heard sometimes roaring in the nearby forest. I got a bit scared to even think that I was capable of making such a barbaric sound. Why? Yeah, I'm hungry. I told him. T.to think a refined elf would make such a sound. I've never heard an elf hunger so much for its belly to roar like a bear, my mother could not help but say in response. I am a very refined lady. I corrected her. Haha. It was just a joke, dear. Of course, you're a refined little princess. Now come eat. Pizza is ready. You'll love it, mother said with a chuckle. Been ages since we ate. I'm glad you finally got the recipe for the dough, father said. You know, Sylphie. There was a time where we once considered making a pizza parlor to sell pizza to people in the Atlantic continent. But eventually, we ended up coming to live in Claudia at the end, mother told me. I see. Is Atlanta like Galatia? I wondered. Not as bad as Galatia, but the people there would still annoy us. Well, not me. It's mostly a your mother problem, father replied. Mother quickly served slices of pizza to us as I wondered what father meant by this. As for the pizza, it was amazing. The dough was actually not hard. It was actually tasty, thin, and it had a satisfying crunch to it. The cheese was on point, the tomato sauce was made carefully, the spices melded together, plus the salami was on point, tasty and a tiny bit spicy, even. All in all, it made for an excellent meal. Pizza is amazing. Where exactly did they get the recipe for such an amazing dish and why didn't they make this before? It seems easy enough from how it's prepared. Maybe the dough has to be special. Don't put it that way. It's nothing too serious, dear. Just some family drama with my siblings and my parents. Your grandparents and uncles, I guess, mother said, sighing soon after. Is everything alright with my elven family? I asked. I guess it's all fine, but I just don't like them. I've been away from there for a long time and I've only been talking with my older sister. With that said, I don't know how things are going, aside from her telling me, it's alright. Though, she probably says that to not worry me, mother replied, sighing again. Oh. I wish I could meet my auntie. I could not help but say. You'll eventually meet her when we get there in a few years. No rush, father said in response to my words. Chapter 92 You are listening at novelfull.audio. 92 Can spirits eat food? My mother talked about her family for only a small bit, so I can't make too many assumptions. However, it seems there's some family drama going on between them. I don't know what the problem may be, but from what I could infer, they aren't on good terms with mom. Well, at least most of her siblings. She's in good terms with my aunt, her older sister, who she talked about a bit. Apparently, she's one of the people that sent her things through that teleportation item where they transfer items around. I do wonder how my elven family is like and what they would think about me. I wonder if my mother has ever spoken to them about me. Wait, isn't my mother royalty? Wouldn't that make me a princess? Mom, aren't you a royalty in that kingdom? Does that make me something as well? I asked. Oh. Well, muttered my mother as she began to ponder this question. Indeed. You are an elven princess, Sylphie. Isn't that cool? Father said in response. He seemed to have already known. Oh, really? Then, I am royalty. Maybe we should get there sooner than we want to so I can be treated like a princess. I could not help but say. No. Bam. My mother suddenly stopped our excitement as she hit the table in desperation. Her eyes were all crazy. I had never seen her like that other than that time I was pretty much dead when I fought against hell. What's wrong, Mom? I asked. Phelan. Naturally, Father was also worried. My mother suddenly gasped as she realized she had gone out of control. After that, she sighed as she suddenly began to look at me with pity in her eyes. It was as if I was someone that had to be pitied by her or something. What's going on? After that, she calmed down and took a few deep breaths. Nothing, I went a bit overboard there. It's hard to talk about it. It's just. I don't think that place would welcome you as easily as you think, my daughter. You'll need to grow a bit stronger so they can recognize you by your strength, Mother told me. But aren't I a princess? I asked in response. Yeah. Sylphie's also an elf. What's the big deal? My father also asked, albeit angrily, crossing his arms. The big deal is. Well, you're obviously an idiot and don't remember, don't you? My mother said in response. Remember. Remember what? He asked again. Sigh. My mother sighed again, drinking some tea before suddenly petting my head and kissing my forehead. It doesn't matter. No matter what, my dear, you're the most important thing in my life. No matter what others will say about you, she said to me after that. What would others say about me? I asked, totally clueless. It's complicated. Let's not talk about this until you're older and we get closer to getting there. I wouldn't like to annoy you with this. It's not worth talking about, Mother said in response. Geez, you're acting all secretive all of a sudden, Phelan. Just tell us already, Father could not help but say after that. No. I won't. Now finish off your breakfast. I worked very hard making it. The pizza is going to get cold, said my mother, taking a bite from her pizza slice as the cheese became stringy. My mother seemed dead serious about all of this, so I decided not to pursue the situation. She was even more strict than my father, and often when she decided something, nothing could change her thoughts about it nor her opinion. My father knew this more than me as he was her husband. With that, I sighed as I drank some tea before enjoying the pizza again. The delicious combination of flavors quickly made me forget the uncertainty and concern I felt inside my heart. However, despite that, I still had my own doubts and wondered what all of that was about. What was my mother talking about? And why would the people of Atlanta, specifically the Evergreen Kingdom where she belonged, say about us? What's wrong? I was still new to this world, so I couldn't even fathom to see the big picture yet. I cannot really guess accurately either, so I'm left hopeless, wondering what the heck I should do now. Then again, the answer was rather obvious. Train, train, and train until my entire body bleeds. Then continue training even after that. After all, there's no point going around it. In any case, I'm still here to enjoy life with my family even through all of that. After all I went through against hell, it made me realize how fragile life was, even for the daughter of the heroes. Perhaps my life was even more dangerous due to that, because I'm the daughter of the ones that everyone wanted to kill. Even as of now, there must be many demons that hate the heroes after all they did to them. I cannot really think clearly about this, but I don't want to make either side hate me. However, just because my parents committed mistakes, that doesn't mean I'll commit the same mistakes, right? With that, I have to work hard to clean their name even with the demons themselves. One day. For sure, I'm going to do it. But for now, this pizza is not going to eat itself. Oi! You're not sharing, asked Ignatius angrily. Can a spirit eat? I wondered. I think some can, my father replied. Let's give it a try. Salamander, eat this, said my mother soon after, offering Ignatius a piece of salami. Ugh! Ignatius stuck his little jaw out of the cracks in the egg and caught the salami, eating it. From his expression, it seemed he found it tasty. This is good. What meat is this? He asked. Dragon, my mother replied while smiling, as if enjoying the entire situation. Dragon, Ignatius cried, almost vomiting what he just ate. We hunted down a blue dragon the other day, so there's still a lot of meat, father said soon after. Oh, a blue dragon, huh? That's fine, then, Ignatius said after that, deciding to eat some more of the salami. Ha! Are red and blue dragons enemies by any chance? Chapter 93. You are listening at novelfull.audio. 93. A talk with Alice. It has been 2 months since the day I ate pizza and learned that there was some sort of dark truth about the Evergreen Kingdom where my mother came from, which she doesn't really want to tell me about for some reason. Since then, I've been training non-stop while learning all sorts of new techniques and spells. Of course, in 2 months, I couldn't really learn everything I needed to be invincible. Talking about age, I'm about to reach 5 years of age by now. Man, it has been quite a long ride. Not even I can believe it has been 5 whole years since I came to this world while being reincarnated by mistake by that weird god. Since then, I've still been wondering what's going on with the hero he had talked about. I remember he said that he would have to use extra energy to reincarnate the real hero, while he gave me the glitched system that became Alice, my dear friend. I wonder how's that hero he had talked about. Do you know anything about it, Alice? I wondered. Alice was floating around me in her glowing orb form. She had healed a lot since the fight. Right now, she was in her more compact form. Even then, the errors and glitches were still piled up inside of her, but she was more stable while the pain was more bearable, or so she says. The hero, she asked. You know. The god I met before reincarnating. He said that I was a mistake and that he wanted to reincarnate another person from a world named Earth, or whatever. Ha ha ha. Who would call their world Earth? Now what? Is there another world named Soil? I wondered while laughing. Earth. I've heard a bit about that world. The god said that it was the perfect and most ideal world to reincarnate people because there were many people in that world that just wanted to die and reincarnate into another world. It is said that many gods of reincarnation like him wanted to bring teenagers from there. But you were a teenager he picked up from a different world by accident. Alice explained, ending it off with a sigh. I see. What about the hero? Is he from that world? I asked after that. Yes, yes. He's supposedly from that very world. However, I don't know anything more than that anyways, so you would need to look it up yourself. One day, somehow. I wasn't there when he got the new hero after all, wrapping me around you before throwing both of us off into this world, replied Alice with a sigh. I guess that's how it is. Ugh, I wonder why he even bothers doing that. There are already 12 heroes here, so what's the deal with that? I could not help but wonder. I have no idea. I don't know what other hero we would ever need in here, Alice replied. Right. It makes no sense. It almost makes me think the hero he actually sent here could be the Demon King. Though, that would be way too far-fetched, right? I asked while giggling. Indeed, that's way too insane. You think of very crazy stuff sometimes. Anyways, you should wake up already. You should finish your daily routine. Don't slack off, Sylphie, Alice said after that. Okay, but you're giving me a little kiss first. I agreed, only to add a twist to my words. E.K. Kiss, she asked. Come here. I rushed towards Alice and hugged her orb-shaped body. Then, I gave her a little kiss. Never forget that I love you a lot, alright? I said to her. Oh. Okay, I get it, she sighed. You're like my sister. You've been with me all this time, so I don't want you to push yourself too hard for a while. Make sure to rest well and recover. I reminded her. Sure. I know that, she replied, sighing once more. Alright then. Ignatius, Naturia, stay with her for some time to keep her company. You don't have to follow me all the time, I told them. But I want to go outside. Ignatius cried. No means no. Stay with Alice and make friends with her. I said while smacking the egg. Wag. Don't smack me, I'll break, he cried, flying away. Phoo. Naturia didn't seem to mind, sitting down on Alice's head. Very well, then. And just like that, I opened my eyes, finding myself in my room once more. In just a few more days, around half a week or so, my 5th birthday would come. I hope my dad has that thing I asked him to give to me. If I can have something made out of that guy, I could have another familiar like Ignatius. Well, emphasis on could. As I woke up, I did a few light stretches and washed my face, greeting my mother who was cooking early in the morning. Sylphie, today, we're heading to Aquarina's place at 2 p.m., so make sure to finish all of your training, she told me. Alright, Mom. With that, I rushed outside into the beautiful grasslands around our home. Then, I rushed back to Yggdra, who was glowing brightly today. Good morning, Yggdra. You're looking beautiful today, as always. I told her as I hugged her tree trunk. I felt her glowing aura encompassing my body, as if she was hugging me back. I suddenly noticed she was now making apples. Although they were still green, I picked one up, which she extended her branch to give to me. Thank you. Chomp. Eden apples are really amazing. Although this green one is a bit too citric and won't make a good apple pie, it's still good. It made for a nice bite before training. Of course, I need to have the other breakfast after that. Alright. I did 1560 swings yesterday. Let's try and break through the 1600 mark today. I've been slacking off way too much. I muttered to myself as I wielded my bronze blade. Soon, I began to quickly swing it in the air, one by one, several times. At that moment, I felt as if the blade was slowly becoming more and more connected to my own body. I remember back then that Father told me that when I finally reached this point, I would become an amazing swordsman. Chapter 94. You are listening at novelfull.audio. 94. Exploring the Forest / 1,600. Oof. Once I reached my goal, I dropped dead on the floor. Fortunately, the grass was soft, so it made for a pretty good bed despite this hard training. While I lied down on the grass, I looked at the clean blue sky. There was the sun shining brightly atop the skies. All in all, it was a beautiful day. I had taken around 2 hours to finish my training. I had woken up at around 8 a.m., so it was approximately 10 a.m. I should probably head back home to not worry my parents. However, every time I finish practicing the blade before 3 hours, I go explore the forest for an hour. I don't know if my parents know that I do this or not, or if they just allow me to do so. Nevertheless, I'm allowed 3 hours of training in the morning. If I take only 2 to complete it, I get a whole hour to do whatever I want without them intervening. So, of course, as someone that's an avid explorer, I headed into the nearby forest as the beautiful trees greeted my sight, covering the forest from the sunlight while forming shadows beneath the treetops. The forest of Claudia could be said to be jungle-like in nature. The moment one enters the forest, they would immediately hear the sounds of countless birds and other creatures singing and roaring all throughout. It's a wild place filled with nature at every step. Well, I've been doing this sneaky exploration for a month by now, and I often take a single hour doing this. I've been using a special paper to make a map, which I got from stealing one of the magic items lying around the house. As it was with the other magic items, this paper was also a magic item. It was called memory paper. It's a special piece of paper that would register whatever I write permanently. With that, I can write many things on it and constantly recall them or bring them back into the paper. I've been doing this to draw the map of this jungle. I've been mapping certain routes where giant beasts don't get too near, as well as special areas where there are lakes, rivers, and special plants that give very tasty fruit. Like usual, I decided to rush towards the last place I managed to map yesterday. I was doing this mostly as practice for the future. That was because my parents had once told me that memory paper was used to map out dungeons. Dungeons were special underground areas said to be made by the gods, while others said they were made by the world. Either way, they serve as trials for the people that enter them. There are deadly beasts inside, but in exchange, there were also amazing rewards waiting for the one who entered it. Of course, many consider the monsters themselves the rewards, as their magic crystals they held could be used for a variety of purposes, be it for alchemy, magic technology, crafting, or research. On the other hand, the monsters' body parts were often used to make amazing equipment, such as their pelt, horns, hair, fur, claws, fangs, cartilage, bones, and so on. Mom and Dad told me that the way humans in this world were able to fight against the threats of dungeons and demons was by using the materials dropped by them to our benefit. With good enough equipment, a person could showcase several times their original strength and acquire all sorts of special abilities as well, which were essential to fight against high-ranked monsters and demons. And well, other people too, I guess. So, for the purpose of one day exploring a dungeon with Aquarina and the other friends I'll make along the way, I want to become good at mapping using the memory paper. Metabolism acceleration. Bright flash. I conjured the life.attribute spell metabolism acceleration to make my body move faster and have faster reflexes. It said that this spell would reduce one's lifespan if overused, but I highly doubt it would affect someone with endless HP. Then, there's Bright Flash, which was a light.attribute spell that covers one's body with light and makes one move faster, like a flash of light. Flash. I moved at an incredible speed across the jungle, evading all of the obstacles that I came across. I had been practicing this combination for a while, as it could increase my speed to up to 3 times my original speed. In any case, it's pretty nice to have. I moved around, jumping, and doing all sorts of movements. At the moment, my body felt so light to the point it was incredible. Clash. Eventually, I appeared at my final destination. Looking in front of me, there was a beautiful sight, a large lake. I called this lake the Lizard Lake because just like right now, there were a lot of giant lizards drinking water from it, sleeping around it, as well as eating prey they hunted. Maybe their territory is this lake. These lizards were called six-legged crowned lizards. From what their name suggested, they're the size of cows, with 6 limbs, blue scales, and a crown made of horns atop their heads. They look like mini dragons in a way, but were way less majestic compared to how I remember Ignatius looking. Well, they also lack wings. Just as I was admiring the sight, I realized that something was wrong. Something was terribly wrong. Gur, I suddenly heard a roar from a creature behind me, its nasty breath covering my entire head. I slowly looked back, and there it was. In front of me was a furious lizard mama, with her 3 lizard babies by her side. Did I mention they were very territorial? Nice to meet you, I said with a smile. Roar. Crunch. I barely evaded the attack from the creature's massive jaws, jumping over her head before walking on her back, returning to where I came from. There's no way I'm staying here. Retreat. Retreat. Grayar. Surprisingly, the lizards didn't chase me, but instead called for backup. In just a few seconds, 3 lizards were on my tail. Alright then. I guess there's no choice. Chapter 95. You are listening at novelfull.audio. 95. The Little Monster Hunter. Well, okay, maybe I was a bit reckless there. Because of that, I was being followed by around 3 6-limbed lizards out of nowhere. On second thought, I was totally reckless there. But how could you blame me? I just wanted to map my paper. What's wrong with that? Oh well. Time to show them that I'm not a little rabbit they can easily follow until I get tired and have an easy meal. I've already analyzed these lizards long ago with the power of my heavenly sight. Through it, I detected that their power level was not as high, but they were certainly strong. In this world, there were also classifications for beasts. Thankfully, they go by tiers the same way as magicians do with their magic circles and superhumans with their super strength. Tier 1 beasts would be on equal terms with a Tier 1 magician, although the magician might have the advantage. Of course, there were 10 ranks in each tier, which made it the matchup more complicated than it was. These lizards were all Tier 2, with some even at Tier 3. The 3 following me were 2 Tier 2s and a Tier 3. Normally, one would wonder how a girl at Tier 1 can beat these 3 giants, right? It would be hopeless, right? Well, the fact that I'm faster than them should already say a lot as to how tiers are not always the deciding factor in winning. There are also things such as equipment, weapons, fighting techniques, strategy, and above all, cheat abilities. My endless mana is a good cheat ability, my skills even more so. Even if I only have a few of them, they can be conjured without necessity for chanting, with their effects often being immediate. I was already looking 2 seconds into the future through heavenly sight. With that, I easily jumped around, evading the upcoming bites of the lizards as they neared me. Groar. Chomp. Oops, a bit too slow there, bud. Rawr. Chomp. Not yet. Add a bit more effort there. Graw. Chomp. That one almost got me, but it didn't. I had trained my previous life in the arts of evasion and acrobatics. I had simply applied it to work in here, allowing me to easily jump around and evade their attacks. After that, I quickly unsheathed my bronze blade and used ember 100 times, shaping the countless tiny flames into a mass of blazing fire covering my blade. Flash. This was one of the few techniques I've learned from Father, covering his own blade with fire and then attacking with it. It was simply named Blazing Blade Arts. Do you like fire? I infused mana into my blade as the flames covering it suddenly intensified, growing larger and fiercer. I jumped above the ground and spun around, enhancing my body with metabolism acceleration to increase my agility, as well as my senses and body to new heights. Slash. I swung my blade 1 time, but that one swing was like 3 at the same time. Thanks to my daily training, I've been able to do multiple swings of my blade per second. Because of that, this had suddenly given me the superhuman ability of unleashing 3 slashes of my blade in a single one through an incredibly swift flick of the wrist. Slash. 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 Grah. Gruer. Grai. Boom. 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 The 3 flaming slashes reached the 3 lizards in an instant while I began to fall from midair. Seeing that, I infused flames into my feet and jumped through the air itself, reaching the back of one of the burning lizards as the other 2 companions he had looked at me furiously. They had tough scale armor, so these simple flames wouldn't be enough to pierce through them. Groar. Gra. The 2 lizards tried to bite me to death as they rushed towards me, jumping over the back of their companion as I smiled. Naturally, there were other methods of fighting as well, such as utilizing agriculture, this peculiar skill I acquired from the farmer job. The skill allowed me to enhance and seemingly control the growth of plants. With Naturia's help. Well, something like this was possible. Not so fast. Flash. Suddenly, several tentacles made out of the grass below them extended, wrapping the legs and lower bodies of the 2 lizards, stopping them from biting me. I jumped right before that as their heads hit each other dumbly. Then, I jumped over the head of the one to the left, raised my blade, and infused it with even more mana. Slash. 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 I then unleashed 3 slashes against the giant lizard's neck as its scales finally couldn't take it and broke apart. Soon, the slashing attacks showed me the tender meat beneath the armor scales. A smile surged on my lips as I did a wonderful flip and reached the neck of this beast in an instant. Then, I raised my blade and pierced its open wound, reaching the bone and breaking through it with the help of muscle strength enhancement, a life-attribute spell I learned. Clash. Grya. Boom. The beast only released a very loud and agonizing cry. After that, it died on the spot, falling to the floor as blood came out of the wound. The other two lizards looked at me in utter horror. They were intelligent pack hunters. Seeing me easily defeat one of their strong ones, which was actually the tier 3 one that chased me, they quickly decided to run for their lives, managing to break through the weak prison made by the grass I had controlled. "Well, have a good day," I said while waving my hand. After that, I realized my entire body ended up being covered in blood. To think this dress was one of my favorites as well. What a bummer. My face also had some blood on it, so I wiped it off with a handkerchief I had with me. "Why don't you kill that thing all by yourself?" Ignatius asked me as he appeared beside me. "Did you want to help?" I asked. Well, it's already too late," he replied with a sigh. "Foo. Foo-foo." Naturia floated around the corpse, looking at it with surprise. "I guess we should carry it back home and butcher it there. My parents are going to go a bit crazy," I muttered with a sigh. I seriously didn't plan on slaying a monster today. Chapter 96. You are listening at novelfull.audio. 96. My own plant minions. Looking at the corpse in front of me, it was very heavy. This creature was at least 3 meters tall and several meters long. In fact, the body these lizards had was long like a snake, which meant there was a lot of meat and bones inside. Wondering how I would carry it, I instantly knew it would be too tiresome and annoying to carry it with my arms. If I dragged it around, the blood would attract predators looking for an easy meal. Of course, I wouldn't give up my hunt easily. Eventually, I took out 2 seeds from my pocket before infusing them with loads of mana. Plant growth acceleration. Flash. By using the plant growth acceleration spell several times, alongside using agriculture several times, as well as infusing loads of mana and even a part of my own vitality with the aid of Naturia, the 2 seeds quickly exploded into countless vines. I let them grow on the ground as they suddenly shaped themselves into 2 large masses of spiky vines with beautiful flowers adorning them. These were movable plants. In other words, plant monsters. I've already practiced making them, and I can use seeds alone to create these little buddies. However, I can't really make an army as of now. Unfortunately, whenever I lose focus, they'd turn into normal plants. Alright, guys. Let's get moving. The 2 vine monsters, which were around 1 meter each, exuded great strength as they carried the corpse of the lizard above the ground for me. I led them to my home as we crossed the forest easily. Though, along the way home, a lesser wyvern tried to steal our meal. Thankfully, I scared him away by firing a blinding shot of light, which made it scream in pain and fly away in desperation. I'm not so sure I can easily beat a flying monster yet, but I learned that if I just shot a very bright ray of light into their eyes, they'll run away most of the time unless they're incredibly hungry. This guy still had a full belly, so he simply ran away. My mother had taught me this tactic, which was also why the light flash spell was the one she taught me first among the many tier 1 light spells I could learn. She said she had used this one many times when she was younger and weaker, scaring away big predators by blinding them, or temporarily blinding them to confuse them and have enough time to escape herself. With some intelligence, we people can easily deal with threats that might even overpower us in strength and fierceness. To think a simple tier 1 spell could easily fend off a tier 4 beast if one had good aim. Who would have known? Of course, one would need way more than that to actually defeat it, but my point still stands. By the time we finally reached the house's door, the 2 vine monsters quickly fell to the floor and became normal plants again. I had yet to find a way to keep them as permanent monster companions. But perhaps raising one slowly like Yggdra might do that. After all, those guys were triggered to turn out like that forcefully from a little seed. Also, these seeds were just from common vine plants. Perhaps if I can get my hands on a monster plant seed, things would be different. Before I could knock on the door, I was received by my father, who looked at me with surprise, almost falling on his butt. After all, I was covered in blood and looked a bit creepy. Yua. Sylphie, why are you covered in blood? Are you okay? Is that a lizard? He asked. Yeah, I went to hunt a bit. I caught it but I got covered in blood. I said with a giggle. Wow, are those burn marks? Amazing, did you actually use my blazing blade arts to slay this tier 3 beast? My father quickly became excited, praising my talents as I had slain a strong beast all by myself. Of course, father. Aren't I talented? I asked with a smug smile. You're a very talented young lady, but you're also a lady. Why are you covered in blood? Plus, your dress is all ruined. Look at your hair. Geez, you'll have to quickly go take a bath if you want to have breakfast. My mother quickly ruined our mood as our father-daughter time was interrupted by my grumpy elven mother. But before I take a bath, let's butcher it first. I said. No means no. First of all, Sylphie, I've already told you several times to not hunt by yourself. Even then, you don't listen, my mother reprimanded me. I'm sorry. I just wanted to explore, staying here gets boring, I replied with a sigh. Sigh. I understand how you feel, but you can't just go risking your life like that, mother said in response. I know. But I am pretty good. Right, Naturia? I asked. Fu. Naturia nodded in response. Of course, she has my back. Come on, Phelan. Don't be so angry at our daughter. Shouldn't we be happy instead? Look how talented she is. She just hunted a beast 2 tiers above her, father said, trying to persuade her to think positive. Yeah, but it's still dangerous. Unfortunately, that didn't work. Don't we have our own spirits looking over her anyways? If she ever gets in danger, they'll rescue her. You're just being overly concerned for no good reason, father said with a sigh. I already knew about their spirits looking over me while using stealth spells to hide their presences. At this point, they're actually like guardian angels by how much they see me, but I've already confirmed that they don't completely share their senses. After all, father was surprised by my hunt. They probably gave them reports over time, which meant they had yet to report him of my hunt. Ah. Right. Ugh, okay. But tell us whenever you go hunt, alright, dearie. Mommy is just very worried. I don't know what I would do if you broke your arm or something, she said with a tone of worry. But can't you just heal it back? I asked in response. Right. But still. It'll hurt, she replied. Okay. I'll go take a bath and then we can butcher it after we eat. I relented. Fine, give me that dress as well so I can wash all the blood out of it, mother said soon after. Alright. Chapter 97. You are listening at novelfull.audio. 97 Butchering classes with father. After I took a bath and put on some new clothes, I quickly enjoyed a nice breakfast with my parents. Today morning, there was apple pie, my favorite. In fact, the pie was made out of Eden apples, which were also my favorites. These apples were always the best and tastiest, so they go with everything. After that, it was finally time for things to get real. With that, we moved outside and looked at the corpse of the creature in front of us. I had never butchered an animal before, so it would be an interesting experience to finally try it out for myself. Now, let's butcher this. I will do it for you, Sylphie. Your mother is busy preparing things for departure. After all, we're going to Aquarina's town at around 2 p.m., so we have to hurry up, father said. Sita, can I help out? I want to learn how to properly butcher big beasts. I requested. I do remember hunting all by myself in my previous life. I used to hunt rabbits or big cats and wolves, which we ate together. In fact, butchering wild animals to eat was an essential thing we learned with our teacher. However, Compared to my previous world, this world's monsters were obviously more complicated to butcher and had many things one had to be careful of to not ruin, especially because high-tiered monsters were valuable, like their weight in gold, pretty much. Every single thing in their bodies had a good use. The internal organs could be used to make medicine of various types, while the meat was an exquisite delicacy. The bones, scales, horns, claws, and fangs were all excellent materials for the forging of equipment, and then, there was the most precious reward inside of these monsters, the magic crystal. Very so often it was encouraged to kill monsters in ways that wouldn't damage their bodies too much. My father told me that a good hunter knew how to defeat the monster they're hunting without breaking it apart into pieces barbarically. The ideal way to defeat a monster with the goal of profit was by hitting a weak spot without damaging too much of the other body parts. Although it's well known that one could severely weaken monsters when their magic crystal was hit, even instantly killing them that way, the magic crystal was very important and where one could get most of the value from one's prey. Also, it said that if it's broken while the monster is still alive, a lot of mana inside it would be lost and would lower in quality because of that. The best and ideal way was to kill a monster without destroying the magic crystal in the process, which of course, increases the difficulty of the hunt several times. I see. So, my daughter finally wants to butcher her own monster, eh? Fine. You've earned it. I will guide you through it and we can do it together. Are you ready for the blood and all the disgusting things inside, though? He asked. Why? Yeah, I'm ready. I don't mind. I'm a big girl now. I will be 5 in a few days, I replied. My father smiled warmly as he petted my head and kissed my forehead in response. Yua. You've grown so much already, my precious little princess. Fine, I'll make sure that you learn a lot of stuff, he said while nodding confidently and giving me a thumbs up. My father was an amazingly reliable man. All right. I said in response. With that, my father quickly guided me through the butchering process. We began by quickly going around the beast first, inspecting it. My father was an expert in hunting monsters, to the point he made a fortune by slaying mythical beasts in the past. He knew how to properly butcher and hunt them down for the best results, as well as the most profit. I've got to admit, you've done a good job, my daughter. You've slain the creature in a way that the rest of the body wasn't damaged. You simply cut through the neck behind and into the bone, easily and instantly killing it. Although the neck is damaged, there's no such thing as a perfect kill. On the other hand, the rest of the body is almost perfectly preserved. There are some burned slashes on the face and the back, but aside from that, most of the scales are still usable. Amazing work. I'll give this one a 10 out of 10, my father told me. Being praised by my father inspired me. At this moment, I felt like my eyes were glistening with joy. Really? I asked. Indeed. Good job, my dear Sylphie, said my father in response, carrying me in his arms again as he kissed my cheeks. So cute and deadly. You're the perfect daughter. Your father is amazingly proud of you. I bet that old man of a grandfather wouldn't believe that a girl would be this amazing, he said. Hee hee. Okay daddy, get me down. Ugh. Sadly, my father sometimes goes a bit too far and raises me too high, making me feel a bit dizzy. Oh, right. Sorry. He quickly moved me down and petted me. Now. Let's begin. My father quickly gave me a sharp knife as he took one himself from his dimensional leather bag. Then, he began the process by opening the stomach of the creature. From here, we'll drain all the blood. You have to make sure not to damage the scales too much, so you have to make a clean cut. Here. You stop only when you feel the bone, father said. He showed me as he put my knife into the stomach of the lizard. Then, he let me slowly pierce through, eventually reaching the ribs. Now, gently yet strongly, slash down and open the stomach, he said. Okay, slash. I slowly cut down the corpse's stomach, opening it up. Soon after, a lot of the corpse's innards flowed out grotesquely. Ugh, I have to get used to this. Then again, it's not like it's hard. I just have to imagine they're bigger rabbits. With scales, fangs, and other weird quirks. E.W. Chapter 98. You are listening at novelfull.audio. 98. Blood magic is sure handy. Good job, now the stomach is open. Look, you cleanly cut through the skin without damaging many scales. The pelt of the beast can be used to make you some good armor and equipment later. Did you know I'm actually a pretty good crafter? Anyways, I can make you something like boots, leather armor, and other stuff, he told me. Wow, really? I thought you were just a brute. I said quite bluntly. What, my father was even good at forging stuff. We were mercenaries, but we also forged our own equipment to save money. With that, my father taught me how to craft my own equipment out of what I hunted. I even learned spells to go with it, my father explained after that. To think my father was more talented than I thought, and he had been hiding this side of him this entire time. Well, I guess he doesn't craft that much anymore, but he seemed pumped to make something from what I hunted. I see. You're really filled with surprises, Daddy. You never mentioned you were so amazing. Now I feel like I'm very lucky to have you as my father, I told him. Ha ha ha. Sylphie.Chan, don't say such embarrassing things. You're going to make this old man blush, he replied with a chuckle. Well, my father was also incredibly handsome and an incredibly muscular body, so he was double the prize. Anyways, that wasn't important. What was important for now was butchering. Here, Sylphie. Now, let's take the innards out carefully so we don't burst them. I brought this pot to place them there. This is a disgusting job, so let me do it for you, he explained soon after. No, I want to do it as well. I have to get used to it, I replied, gulping a bit of saliva. The innards of a tiny rabbit and those of a 3-meter tall lizard had a big difference. In fact, this alone almost made me throw up a few times by how smelly and slimy it was. Ugh! Is this really used for medicine? Nevertheless, I poured the innards into a large pot. The stomach, liver, lungs, heart, and all of that, I made sure to put it all in the pot, leaving the carcass empty of all the disgusting stuff for now. The blood was also drained through the usage of blood magic, a rare type of magic my father had learned a few spells only for butchering. He was a talented hero and actually knew spells of almost every element. Though, he had not really mastered them, only having them for utility. If he were to try mastering them, it would be increasingly more difficult compared to just learning and mastering more of his fire attribute. You should probably be able to learn this spell as well at some point. In fact, you should try it out. You're a genius, so it might even work. Look, this is the circle. The runes. And blood extraction. Flash. Father suddenly extracted the blood from the corpse in rivers, which he moved into another large pot, filling it up slowly. It took some time, but he got all the blood out of the corpse without drying it up or something. I don't know if this spell worked on living beings, but if it did, it could be deadly against wounded enemies to extract their blood and weaken them. It's even possible to kill them through the missing blood alone. However, it looked very difficult to do. Since father told me to try it, I tried copying my father's magic circle and blood extraction. Flash. The blood began to flow like rivers out of the bucket, soon forming a sphere of blood right before my hands. Wow, it's working. I said in surprise. Great job. Now, carefully move it back there. We wouldn't want your dress to get bloody again. Your mother would kill us if that happened, father said with a light sigh at the end. Surprisingly, I had learned the blood extraction spell, just like that. I don't know if I'll ever use it, but it might come in handy sometimes while butchering. Maybe I can use it while fighting as well. I don't know. My father doesn't seem to use it for fighting, though it's mostly because he could just overpower his enemies with his strength alone. After that, my father taught me how to take out the skin and the scales of the beast, cutting down the skin out of the muscles until we left the entire lizard naked. It was an arduous job, to say the least. Then, we quickly decided to take out the magic crystal. Magic crystals are always located in different places on each monster. The lizards here have it near the heart, so let's see. Ah, there. My father gently opened the lizard's rib cage, revealing a glowing, blue-colored jewel covered in veins and blood. Naturally, that was the magic crystal, which was still glowing with light. It's still glowing. It most likely means that the beast's soul or a fragment of it was trapped inside. That only happens when you kill it without destroying the magic crystal. Good job, my father said, taking out the crystal and cleaning it. After that, he gave it to me. Here, hold it for me, he said. While holding it, I looked at the majestic crystal glow with bright blue light. It was emanating a lot of mana, giving off the energy that fit a tier 3 magic crystal. Amazing. It's so pretty, I could not help but say. Right. Do you want me to use it to craft you something, he asked. Oh, can you? I asked in response. Yeah, though I can't do things that are too overly complicated. I'm not like the Witch of the Blue Mountain. I can't do stuff with alchemy, actually. I'm very talentless there, he replied. Sure. Anything would do, Daddy, I told him. Alright then. Ah, I'm so pumped up. I'll make you some pretty equipment, alright. You'll look so cute and fierce with it. My daughter is the best, my father said as he carried me in his arms again. If I can get some awesome equipment made by father, I'll be better protected than before, so I'm counting on him in this regard. You too, are you done? It's time to go, my mother said as she summoned her owl. Oh. Time to go meet Aquarina, it seems. Chapter 99. You are listening at novelfull.audio. 99 Aquarina's resolve, Aquarina's POV. Since that day, I've been always thinking about how to grow stronger. That day when Sylphie almost died for me. I could still remember it vividly, even when it'll soon be a year since then. It has been engraved on my soul. Mommy and Daddy always told me that when we go through hardships, our minds grow more mature. I suppose that's what happened to me. Every day since then, I'm always worried. I always think about ways I can grow stronger. Sylphie. I don't want her to do this anymore. I don't want her to risk her life for me. I want to protect her instead. I want her to be happy. I don't want her to suffer for me. I'm so weak. It makes me so frustrated. Mommy and Daddy said that it's fine to be weak when I was so young. After all, I'm just 4 years of age, soon to be 5 in a few more weeks. At 4 years of age, I shouldn't have gone through all the things I did. Or well, that's what they always told me. But if I was blessed by Oceanus, then I'm also a hero. Like Sylphie. I cannot simply stand still and do nothing other than practice magic around a little bit. I've never really liked fighting. It makes me scared. When I kill a living being, it makes me sad. On the other hand, Sylphie is different. She's always so bright and strong, no matter the situation. And no matter what it is, even when we fought against that monster, she was looking at it with her beautiful emerald eyes. I want to be a bit more like Sylphie. I want to be strong as well so I can stay by her side and not be a burden to her. Mommy and Daddy said that I shouldn't worry about this. That what happened was something I couldn't predict, and that it wasn't supposed to be a challenge that kids my age would normally go through. But I cannot help but think that if Sylphie wouldn't have sacrificed her own body and did everything for me, I would have died before my parents could even arrive. This truth eats at my mind every day since then. But every time Sylphie comes back home, I grow happy and forget these dark thoughts, only for them to emerge once more when she goes away. Sylphie. I can't just be a crybaby all the time, right? I have to grow stronger myself. If I always depend on her for everything, then I'll never truly grow strong myself. If I'm the heroine of Oceanus, then I have to show that I'm qualified for such a title. Mommy and Daddy told me to not push myself so hard. But I have to do it. Sylphie is always strong and brave. She's really like a heroine. She never fears fighting at all. She never fears killing. Even before the face of that Black Panther long ago. She was strong and protected me. And when I killed that creature with her, I ended up crying because I felt so sad. It hurt me so much to kill another living being. It made me feel horrible. But Sylphie. She seemed to be fine even after all that. Of course, I asked my parents about that, and they said that there's no sane person that wouldn't feel bad after killing another living being. Even if it was a small rabbit, or a big panther trying to eat you, you'd still feel the weight of taking another life. But they also told me that the strong people, like them, simply carry on with it. Becoming a good warrior doesn't mean learning to kill without remorse, it means learning to kill and accept and live with this sorrow one would feel after killing. After all, it's done for a reason, and that reason must become the driving force to take another life. She took that life to save me. So I know. And then, we took the life of more animals to eat them, to nourish ourselves. In my tribe, my people are always grateful to Mother Nature and the beasts after we hunt them. We always offer a prayer to their corpses after they take their last breath. We also thank them for giving their lives so we can keep on living. I cannot really be like Sylphie. She seems unfazed by this, but it made me sad. However, I've decided to think the same as the hunters of my tribe from now and be thankful for every life I take in the name of survival and my own self-sustenance. Or for those I love. For those reasons and many more. I decided to ask Papa to teach me, so I can grow stronger. Mama told me that my body was too small and weak for the fighting techniques she knows, so she wants me to strengthen my body before learning from her. Because she said it would be painful. So, for now, I have to strengthen my body through exercises that Papa had given to me. They're similar to Sylphie's exercises, but flashier. Papa, I want you to teach me how to fight. Aquarina. My papa looked at me with his pretty blue eyes, and then nodded while giving me a warm smile. Very well. My daughter, I shall teach you the techniques that my teacher once taught to me. Your body might not be as strong as other Amazons your age, but you're agile and nimble. You're good enough, he told me. Since then, without Sylphie knowing about it, I began secretly training with Papa. But it was hard. Papa made me exercise until I almost dropped dead every day. It hurt and made me feel sad. But I had to do it to grow stronger. And for Sylphie. And also for Leviathan. The creature that Sylphie told me that sacrificed himself to rescue me. I don't know how he was right now or why he did that, but I have to live on for him as well. Chapter 100. You are listening at novelfull.audio. 100. Visiting the Amazon tribe. We quickly hopped on the giant owl that Mother summoned, which was her familiar, as we began to fly across the skies. The entire trip was beautiful and uneventful, which was a nice relief from those other trips we took there, which were always interrupted by an asshole that wanted to kill us. I see your father taught you how to butcher, right? My mother asked. Yeah, it was a lot of fun, but it was also a bit disgusting, I said in response. Well, that's how it is. Butchering is a work that he likes to do the most. You see, he's a mercenary that liked to hunt a lot of beasts to make a profit, so he loves to butcher them up, my mother said after that. Hey, you don't have to treat me like a murderous man or something. It's just essential work to make money back then. Well, now that I think about it, we don't even need money anymore, my father said, soon sighing after realizing something. True. And even if we wanted to, we could easily get it, mother added. Huh. Are we actually rich? If that's the case, then why don't we got a better house? I asked. My two parents looked at me with furrowed eyebrows. Did I say something bad? You don't like the house we constructed with all our love, Sylphie, father asked in a slightly saddened tone. Eh. Huh. We specifically built that to raise you in there. You don't like our construction, mother asked soon after. Oh. No, I mean, it's a very pretty and rustic house. I hastily replied. Well, I expected a rich family to have those massive and refined manners that aristocrats always had, but I guess what we got was more than enough. Then again, I would like to explore more of this world and see what buildings aristocrats had. Can we head to the Galadia continent one of these days? Head to a town and meet more humans. I kind of want to explore a little bit, I suggested. My parents looked at me with concern once they heard that. I wouldn't want you to do that, father said in response to my suggestion. Indeed. It's better for you to not go there, dear. We've already talked about that continent and the people there, right? Mother said soon after. But there's no way every single human is bad, right? The same should also apply for demons, I countered. Well, we feel like it would be a bit too much, mother said in response. Indeed. It would be better to let you grow a few more years before adventuring into a human town, just in case, father said after that. Ugh, my parents really don't want me to go to a human town. I just want to go there and explore the place for a bit. Maybe I could join the Adventurers Guild or something and do some easy quests like slay some goblins or whatever. Just to change the pace a bit. Being confined in my home all the time is quite boring, to be honest. Well, I mean, it's fun whenever I go to Aquarina's tribe. The Amazon there are many and they have their own society and stuff, but they're often rather boring. They're more of a tribe so they're very simplistic. There's nothing complicated there to enjoy other than meeting more people, hunting, eating, and sleeping, I guess. I also want to learn alchemy if possible, but there isn't anyone good with that except for my mother. However, she doesn't want to teach me because she says it's dangerous at my age. Oh well. I guess I'll make sure to do what I can for now until they let me. I know they're worried about me more than ever before, so even practicing alchemy seems dangerous. Then again, I can't do anything over it. Well, I could. I could just protest angrily at them, pout, and do all of that. Maybe I could get through them that way. Then again, I don't feel like doing that. Whatever. I'll just go with the flow for now. The trip back to the jungle where Aquarina's tribe was located ended up being relaxing, so relaxing in fact that I fell asleep. When I woke up, I was already on my bed in Aquarina's room. It seems I was carried here. Once I woke up, I found Aquarina playing on the floor with magic. Indeed, she had lost interest in her toys long ago, instead using her water magic to masterfully control it. She created tiny creatures made of water, such as small rats and even flying birds. It was a beautiful spectacle to see. All of a sudden, she created a long dragon-like sea serpent, looking at it rather sorrowfully. Was this supposed to be Leviathan? She made him look quite realistic. Aquarina. I sat up and asked for her name to greet her. Aquarina immediately left everything she was doing. Her water dolls splashed over the soil on the ground as she looked at me with her bright golden yellow eyes. Sylphie, you're awake. As I was awake, she rushed towards me and jumped on my bed, hugging me tightly. Yeah. I think I fell asleep on the way here. I was tired, I think. Just today, I learned how to butcher stuff, I told her. Oh. Really? I also know how to butcher stuff. Mama taught me. Aquarina said in response. Auntie Nephiline did. I see. Maybe we could go out hunting and butcher the beasts by ourselves now. Papa taught me a new spell to drain the blood of corpses easily as well, I replied. That's so cool. Maybe I can learn it as well. Papa told me I could have affinity for blood because it's close to water, said Aquarina with enthusiasm. Maybe you could try the spell out whenever we find the perfect time to use it, then. For now, how about we eat something? I'm starving. I asked. All right then. I'm so happy you're here. I missed you throughout all the week you weren't here, Sylphie. She lamented with a sigh. Before she could finish her words, I petted her silky silvery white hair and kissed her forehead lovingly. Don't worry, sister. I'm here now. So, let's have a lot of fun, I said in response. Sister, ah. Sure, Aquarina replied, blushing when I called her my sister. Well, she really was like a little sister to me.